Bristol is not under attack. There are no sirens, no braking alerts, no emergency broadcasts. And yet, if you drive through this city right now, it feels like something is collapsing, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, repeatedly, every few meters. Potholes, cracks in the road that have turned into craters, surfaces that look less like infrastructure and more like failed promises baked into asphalt. And now the numbers have arrived, not rumors, not vibes, data. Pothole complaints in Bristol have risen 700%. Let that sit for a second. 700%. That's not a small increase. That's not seasonal fluctuation. That's a system being overwhelmed. The numbers don't whisper, they shout. Reports jump from 103 complaints in May 2025 to 841 by February 2026. That's not just more potholes. That's more people noticing them, reporting them, hitting them, swerving around them, and asking, what exactly is going on? Because complaints don't rise that sharply unless something changes. Either the roads got worse or the tolerance for broken roads collapsed. Most likely, both. The time problem. Now here's where things go from frustrating to ridiculous. Repairs that are supposed to be completed in 10 days are taking up to 31 days. Some potholes left for as long as 85 days. 85 days. That's nearly 3 months of the same hazard sitting there, collecting tires, suspensions, and frustration like it's running a business. And during that time, cars keep hitting them. Cyclists keep risking injury. Drivers keep swerving into other lanes. Because potholes are not just cosmetic, they're kinetic. They force movement. They create risk. They turn roads into obstacle courses. The council response. Now, the response from Bristol City Council, predictable. They say roads are inspected regularly. Busy roads are checked monthly. All roads are checked at least once a year. Repairs aim to be completed within 28 days, and they've also suggested that some of the 700% increase could be due to duplicate reports, which, to be fair, might be true, but here's the problem. When people are reporting the same pothole multiple times, that doesn't reduce the issue, it confirms it. It means the problem is still there, still visible, still unfixed, still annoying enough that multiple people feel the need to report it again. That's not statistical noise, that's public frustration looping. The weather excuse. Another explanation offered? Weather, heavy rainfall. And yes, weather absolutely plays a role. Water gets into cracks, freezes, expands, breaks surfaces apart. That's real. But here's the catch. Britain has always had weather. Rain is not a new feature. This is not a surprise mechanic introduced in a software update. So when potholes surge like this, weather might be a trigger, but it's not the full explanation, because good infrastructure planning accounts for predictable conditions. And in the UK, rain is about as predictable as tea. National context. It's not just Bristol. To be fair, Bristol is not alone. Across the UK, potholes are becoming a national headache. There are estimated to be over 1.1 million potholes across the country. With a massive repair backlog, roads are aging, budgets are stretched, temporary fixes are replacing long-term solutions. It's like putting plasters on a structure that needs surgery. But Bristol is feeling it hard. Here's where Bristol stands out. A 700% rise is not just part of a national trend. It's a spike, a surge, a sign that something locally isn't keeping pace. And when repair times are exceeding targets and backlogs are forming where previously there were none, people start connecting dots. The political heat. Enter politics. Because nothing exposes local government faster than the condition of roads. You can debate policy, you can argue ideology, but a pothole, that's physical. You feel it, literally. It shakes your car, It rattles your bones. It sends a message straight through your suspension into your mood. And now criticism is building. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander has already called the situation dangerous and criticized delays in repairs. Because when basic infrastructure starts failing, it doesn't stay a local issue, it becomes a political one. The everyday cost. Let's talk about what this actually does to people. Because potholes are not just annoying, they cost money. Tires blown, suspension damaged, alloy wheels cracked. And unlike taxes or rent, these costs feel random, unfair. You didn't choose to hit that pothole, you just did because it was there, because avoiding it meant risking something worse. That unpredictability builds resentment fast. Cyclists and motorcyclists, the real risk. Now take it a step further. For drivers, potholes are expensive. For cyclists and motorcyclists, they're dangerous. A badly placed pothole can throw a cyclist off balance instantly. No warning, no recovery, just impact. And that's where this stops being about inconvenience and starts being about safety, the infrastructure reality. Here's the deeper issue. Road maintenance is not glamorous. It doesn't win headlines. It doesn't generate excitement. It doesn't feel like progress. But it is foundational. And when foundational systems start slipping, everything else becomes harder. Transport slows, costs rise, trust drops. Because if a council can't keep roads intact, people start asking what else isn't being maintained properly. Short-term fixes versus long-term solutions. There's another layer to this. Many pothole repairs are temporary, quick fills, short-term patches, because full resurfacing is expensive, time-consuming, disruptive. So instead, roads get patched again and again until the patches become part of the problem. It's like editing over the same sentence repeatedly until the meaning disappears. The 1 million attempt. To be fair, there have been efforts. Around £970,000 has been allocated to resurface some of Bristol's worst roads. That's not nothing. That's a serious investment. But here's the issue. When the scale of the problem is growing faster than the scale of the solution, you're not catching up. You're managing decline. The trust problem. This is where things get philosophical. Because potholes are not just holes in the road. They're holes in trust. They're visible evidence that something basic isn't working. And when people see that repeatedly, day after day, they stop believing things will improve. Not dramatically, just quietly. They lower expectations. And once expectations drop, rebuilding trust becomes 10 times harder. The loop of frustration. Here's the cycle. Road deteriorates. People report it. Repair is delayed. More people report it. Frustration grows. Trust drops. Repeat. That's how you get a 700% increase. Not just more damage, more awareness, more irritation, more people saying, this isn't good enough. Bristol's pothole problem is not just about roads. It's about what happens when small failures become impossible to ignore, because no one writes headlines about well-maintained streets. No one celebrates smooth journeys, but everyone notices when things go wrong. And right now, Bristol is noticing loudly. A 700% rise in complaints is not background noise. It's a signal, a clear, unavoidable signal that something isn't keeping up, that infrastructure is slipping faster than it's being repaired, that the gap between expectation and reality is widening. And once that gap gets too wide, people stop giving the benefit of the doubt. They stop waiting patiently. They stop believing the system is working in the background, because the background has become visible in every bump, every crack, every pothole that should have been fixed weeks ago. This isn't about perfection. No one expects perfect roads, but people do expect functional ones, safe ones, maintained ones. And when that baseline isn't met, it doesn't just feel like inconvenience, it feels like neglect. So this isn't just a transport issue, it's a credibility issue. Because if a city can't keep its roads together, people start wondering what else is quietly falling apart beneath them. And that question, that's much harder to patch than asphalt.